Well, a win's a win. Yep, big 2 points. I bet Boston's terrified. I'm sure they hear the footsteps. Oh my God, how could they not? They know that when they play Toronto, they're going to get a hockey team that gives it a full 58 and a half minutes. Hi! Victory, puppy! Plan the parade!
I have no idea what I'm doing.
God, to the races only! This team is ruining my life! Victory, puppies, boys. Here's your treat. Just hold me. Daddy's seen some stuff. Leafs win! Sorta, kinda. 3-2 over the Edmonton Oilers. I know that they don't ask how, they ask how many, but for crying out loud! They won! They won! They won! The Leafs won! They won. I want to go on a little rant. Very small side note before I start. After the past couple games, any Jake Gardiner or Travis Dermott detractors not want them in the lineup right now? Just saying, it might be a little helpful. Leafs fans, alright, listen. This has been a very anxious and at times unhappy season, I think, for Leafs Nation. We talked about this on the podcast last episode, and it's amazing because the Leafs might just be having their best regular season ever. They might have 107 points, which would be a team record, and they would do so without the use of the shootout so far. They have gone into the third period leading 34 games. They've played 68 games, which means half their games this season, they've gone into the third period leading. And for a team with a reputation for blowing leads, they've only blown one of those. Granted, it was last game, and this one was pretty close, but compared to recent history, it's actually going quite well. They signed John Tavares in the offseason. Morgan Riley is at least in the Norris conversation. More and more, Freddie Anderson should be in the Vezina conversation. Maybe he should even win the thing. And this fan base is like Zach Hyman's face after this game. Did you see it? Leafs win Hockey Night in Canada, and he's walking down the tunnel, and on national television he gives you one of these. Me too! None of them looked like a hockey team that just won a hockey game, much less an NHL team that won an NHL game. This is all I'm going to say on the matter, and then we'll get to the game. Injured players will heal. The Bruins have won 6 straight and haven't lost a game in regulation since January. And despite all that, the Leafs are still just 4 points back, actually have the same number of wins as the Bruins with 42, and actually have 2 more regulation wins than the Bruins with 42 to 40. The Bruins have been to 5 shootouts and have a record of 2-3. The Leafs have been to 0. Does that make you feel better, Leafs Nation? Of course it doesn't, because you've been dreading playing them in the playoffs for over a month. But can you stop dreading tomorrow for a second to enjoy the present? And before you start, no, there's no but to that. It's as true in an 82-game regular season as it is in life. Enjoy what is happening right now. How many times have you been dreading tomorrow, and then when tomorrow becomes today, you wish you didn't spend all of yesterday dreading it? It is March 10th. The Leafs' last regular season game is April 6th, and if the schedule follows the format that it has in recent years, the Leafs' first playoff game will not be until April 10th. 1 month from today. How you will spend that month is up to you. Oh no, we play Tampa tomorrow. Well, how about we talk about how they beat Edmonton yesterday? That's how I plan on spending today. Alright, so this game was actually a little bit strange. Because now that it's done, I feel like fan bases of both teams deserve to feel better about their hockey teams than they currently do. The Oilers had a very leafy first period. Now, the Leafs often get scored on in like the first 5 or 10 minutes. That became the cartoony version of they have bad starts. All that used to be, and what that was for most of the season, is the Leafs would get outshot in the first period, but I thought their scoring chances were still pretty even. And that was basically the Oilers in this one. They came out flying. I thought they had a couple good chances in the first 2 minutes. And after about minute 5, the Leafs steadily outshot them the rest of the period. The Oilers still got their licks in. It wasn't until just over 2 minutes remaining that Leon Draisaitl took a slashing call on William Nylander, and the Leafs went to the power play that the Leafs were finally able to crack them. John Tavares has the puck down low. He swats a backhand pass that just blows by Austin Matthews to the point where I don't even think the pass was to Matthews. I'm kind of wondering if it was an intentional bank off the boards to Riley. Well, it worked. The puck is up on its side when Riley shoots it. It's a literal knuckle puck. Might have gone off of Kyle Brodziak. Doesn't matter. That's Morgan Riley's goal. John Tavares did not tip it. This Momo is not a hoax. And Morgan Riley puts the Leafs up 1-0 with just seconds remaining in the first. On his birthday. Once again, Leafs Nation making me sick before this game because Lucic isn't in the lineup, Koskinen's not in the lineup, and it's Anthony Stolar's first start with the Oilers. And I see all these tweets, all the Leafs are going to get shut out. Let me ask you something. If you put some cream on your worry wart, will you disappear? How about instead of being like, oh, these bad things are going to happen, Morgan Riley scores on his birthday. And when he blew out the candles, he was wishing you would kick rocks, dodging your bad vibes like Roy Purdy. And the Leafs outshoot and outscore Edmonton in the first. Isn't that nice? Also coming out of the first, Babcock, real interesting in this one. Instead of matching the Tavares, Marner, Hyman line against McDavid, it seemed to be Matthews. Or was that Hitchcock? Because after all, it's home ice advantage for the Oilers. And when you think about it, the Matthews line, the hell on wheels line as I've called it, they actually haven't been very good recently. But they were great in this one, and it sort of makes sense. They're fast. With all due respect to Zach Hyman and John Tavares and Mitch Marner, who's obviously a speed demon, the line of Matthews, Janssen, Kapanen, that's the fastest line the Leafs got. And it might explain McDavid's quote after the game. Asked what the difference was tonight, McDavid said they're a good hockey team. They are solid all over. They never make mistakes. What, Connor? Obviously skilled. They just come at you in waves. The never make mistakes line, like, holy smokes, Edmonton's damaged you. But the one to focus on there is the Leafs just come at you in waves. And for the past few games, that Nylander in the middle, Marlowe, Brown line, pretty mediocre. Nas wasn't just back in the lineup in this one, he was back. Him and Willie with the instant chemistry, Marlowe in there. That might have been the most encouraging part of the game that no one was talking about. Nas looks like he hasn't lost a step at all. But anyway, to McDavid's point, he was completely shadowed in Toronto by one line. The game comes to Edmonton, he's shadowed by a completely different line to the same result, except for the final 90 seconds. Now the Leafs, with all the momentum going forward because they scored at the very end of the first, not so much. Slightly ruined because Freddie Gauthier takes a penalty on Leon Draisaitl. I don't know how he pulled that off because there were only 14 seconds left in the frame, but the Leafs begin the second down a man. Edmonton could have easily climbed back into this, but they didn't because the PK was good, but Freddie was even better. And Stoley, the goalie, incredible. Morgan Riley streaking in. Patrick Marleau, Anthony Stolarz with the huge glove save, keeping them in the game. Listen, I know they lost the game 3-2, but if Anthony Stolarz on a cheap contract can be this all of next season for the Oilers, they might just make it back to the playoffs. I've said it 1,000 times. I think the most frustrating thing about the Oilers is that they're not making the playoffs every single year. I don't think they're far away. No team with 3 players clicking the way that Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and McDavid are should ever miss the playoffs. You make a couple moves, you sign a couple guys, if you keep those players and you get a few saves, yeah, you're gonna make it. And with this save, Stolarz says that the Leafs' recent strategy of turning it on for 5 minutes every second period is not gonna work. And if it weren't for Freddie stopping Draisaitl on at least 2 one-timers, it would have gone the other way. A little over halfway through the second, a weird play. Zaitsev at his own blue line with lots of time and space on the left side of the ice for some reason, just throws a dart. But it's on Hyman's stick, quick little flick over to Tavares, and he's away. Back in, forehand, in! John Tavares ties his career high with his 38th goal of the season, and on a play started by a laser beam, a weird-looking, lazy sort of laser beam from Nikita Zaitsev, the Leafs have a 2-0 lead. Certainly wouldn't want to insult Nikita Zaitsev after a play like that, but the second Leaf in ice time was Ron Hainsey at 22 minutes and 55 seconds. Nikita Zaitsev, 25-15! Anyone still glad Dermott and Gardner are out of the lineup? Even one of them? So anyway, the Leafs are winning. Don't worry about it. Is Rosen back yet? Early third period. Sustained pressure in the Oilers zone from the Nas, Nylander, Marleau line. Nothing going. The puck leaves the zone. The Leafs try to go for a line change. Well, in the midst of that line change, Nylander with incredible vision. He's being shadowed by Nugent Hopkins as it looked like he was going off the ice, so he just tosses it up the ice to Tavares. But he says, actually, and he sees an opportunity to wheel. So he sends it, and Tavares sees what's happening, and he gives him a little backhand pass. Willie takes it. Jake Muzzin sees what's happening, and he sends it. Mini little 2-on-1 Nylander saucer pass to Muzzin, who barely gets it. Muzz Lightyear to the rescue, and it's 3-0 Leafs. Listen, maybe I shouldn't say this now because maybe you're gonna think that I'm only saying it because he scored. But a few games ago, I said Muzzin looks super injured. No, it's gone. For 3 or 4 games now, he looks like the Jake Muzzin who arrived in Toronto. And let me tell you, man, I know it's hard. This team has scarred you, dude. I totally get it. But look at the Leafs who have gotten injured this season and how they've come roaring back. Dude, look at Tyler Ennis. That guy broke his ankle and he's come back playing even better than he was before. If the Leafs get a healthy Jake Muzzin heading into the playoffs and both Gardner and Dermott return, which it seems like they're both on a timeline too? You're telling me this defense isn't better than it was before the Muzzin trade? I don't know about Marincin or Hall or Ozhiganov. None of those guys make the opening playoff lineup if everyone's healthy. Another guy, William Nylander. Listen, let me tell you, if you were hurt by him, I get it. But after an excruciatingly slow start to the season for him, he started playing great hockey. He was heating up. Kadri gets injured and he has to switch positions. He filled in, I thought, admirably, although the offense wasn't quite there all the time. But on his first game back on the wing, he makes a great play with great vision. John Tavares, who's never once played on his line, another great play with vision. And Jake Muzzin, a guy who Willie's barely ever played with because he just got here, also great vision on the play. Listen to me! If you're gonna come at me with all that negativity after a Leafs win, I'm gonna give the positivity right back. I'm gonna scream positivity at you till you believe it. William Nylander is a Leaf. John Tavares is a Leaf. Jake Muzzin is a Leaf. Where is your smile? Now, it's less than 2 minutes to go in the game. Still 3-0 Leafs. I'm sitting down on the floor. My wife is on the couch. It's just how it goes. And I'm looking over her. I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, don't you say it. And she's like, say what? And I go, exactly. Here's where I think everything went wrong. Because she was good. She didn't say it. And neither did I. But the dogs were in the room. And they can't say it. They can only think it. And when they think it, it's as good as saying it. So one of them said it. And with an empty net, the Oilers score 3-1. And I know they got an extra guy. But this is not acceptable. There's the puck battle that Ron Hainsey is tending to, but then there is an open recipient for the puck and an open recipient for that person to pass to, and it's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He doesn't need a ton of room there, and they score. And Tavares banging his stick on the post like Babs. I remember from the HBO 24/7 when he was still coach of the Wings and it was against the Leafs, and he was harping on the Wings, talking about body language. Leafs body language recently has been brutal. Only a few seconds later, they got the puck, they send it to a streaking cleft bomb. Oh my God! The Oilers have 52 seconds left, which I just learned is a ton of time to tie it. Now here's the thing, that was the Muzzin-Zaitsev pairing that was on the ice. Babcock goes, all right, that's no good. To close the game out, we're gonna put out Hainsey-Riley. And here's Hainsey standing right up in front of his man, and who's got Cassian? Cassian with a wide open breakaway, oh my God! Freddie, the crown prince of Leafland! And to end the game, Babcock's got Hainsey-Zaitsev out there, and here is the awful crossroads that I'm at. I love Morgan Riley, love him with all my heart. And you might say, well, come on, Babs, that's your guy. Leave him out there for his shot at redemption. He gave him one, and then they gave up a breakaway. Riley has been putting up points like crazy this season, been scoring at a ridiculous rate. It looks like he's gonna hit 20. He's gotta be better at stops. He's gotta get more stops. And you might say, well, maybe he'd get more stops if Hainsey wasn't his partner. And maybe you're right. But I think this is unpopular. I gotta defend Babcock in this one. I don't love it. You might argue, shouldn't Muzzin be out there? Hainsey-Zaitsev, those are the two guys Babcock trusts him to give him stops. I know, it keeps me up at night too. Get better soon, Jake. Get better soon, Travis. But hey! The Leafs won! The Leafs barely beat the Oilers, but they beat them, and people are talking about the Leafs like they lost. Meanwhile, the Boston Bruins needed a courageous come-from-behind last-minute victory against the Sens! And look, I get it, everyone's focused on the streak. When Buffalo won 10 games in a row early in the season, all anyone could talk about was the streak. Why not? It's interesting and it's fun. But what we didn't talk about was how many of those wins were by the skin of their teeth. The Leafs finished off a road trip where they had a ton of injuries, and I bet a bunch of players playing hurt as well. Some guys playing in the lineup for the first time, and they came out of it with a winning record. And now the Leafs have a 3-game homestand coming up. Oh, but the first one's against Tampa. Don't go then. I'm going to the game. I'll be cheering. How about you? Questions. What is the likelihood that McDavid's future autobiography has the same title as your book? Oh, you mean this book, This Team is Ruining My Life, by me? 0%. McDavid's future autobiography will not have the same title as mine. Because McDavid is on the Oilers, you might notice that the title of this biography is This Team is Ruining My Life, but I love them. This guy doesn't love the Oilers? Come on. But the real error there is the title will not be This Team is Ruining My Life, because he will be a Leaf. Was it just me, or the Plur's face at the end of the game said something like, oh boy, Mike's not going to be happy about that? Well, I mean, should he be? They knew they were probably going to have to look at tape of the final 90 seconds, but to that I would say the players are smart, and they know that they goofed up. These guys are playing in the best hockey league in the world. They're competitors. They're ashamed of themselves. Or at least they were unhappy with their performance. They don't need Mike to be for them. What do you think the odds are that a Leaf wins a major award this year? It's funny, I feel like Leafs are always in tough to win awards. You know, people talk about the Toronto bias in the league. Ah yes, as evidenced by all the Leafs that have won stuff recently. All Matthews had to do was have the most incredible, best rookie season in the entire 100-year history of the Toronto Maple Leafs in order to win the Calder. No one else has won squat! And to that I would say perhaps no one has deserved squat. Fair. Riley should at least be in the Norris conversation. I don't know if he'll get a nomination. I mean, at the end of this game. Like, people talk about the Toronto media like they all have their pom-poms out. They don't actually get to see it here. They're incredibly critical. So awareness that Morgan Riley exists is not going to get him onto the Norris ballot. The Norris might be the hardest award there is to win for a Leaf. The guy who I think will have an easier time winning an award and probably has a better season, a better argument to win an award, is Frederik Andersen. He's currently tied for second in the league in wins. Marc-Andre Fleury has 34. Both Martin Jones and Freddie Andersen have 33. Fleury's got a .912 save percentage. Jones has an .898. And Freddie has a .924. He crushes them both. Freddie is 6th in save percentage. Actually, he's tied for 4th with a .924. The guys ahead of him, Ben Bishop, Robin Lehner, Thomas Greiss, and Jarro Halak. Lehner and Greiss, not to take anything away from them, have been a tandem for the Islanders all year. Ben Bishop with his .930 and actually tied with Freddie is Anton Khudobin with his .924. Those guys have been a tandem too. Yaroslav Halak, that's not the Bruins starter. And sorry, I should have said, that's save percentage among goalies who have started at least 30 games. If you do at least 40 games, it's Andrei Vasilevsky, who's been ridiculous with a .931. And then after that, Freddie. He's the only guy above .920 except for Darcy Kemper? Carey Price might get some votes. He's not going to win it. John Gibson, the Ducks aren't going to make the playoffs. He's not going to win the Vezina. They don't make the playoffs. Honestly, to me, it's a two-horse race between Freddie Andersen and Andrei Vasilevsky. In terms of starting goaltenders, like goalies who have played at least 60% of their team's games or started 60% of their team's games, you can't tell me that Freddie Andersen isn't at least the second best starter in the NHL. And if you're in the top 2, I would say you have a pretty good chance of winning. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Hopefully see you Monday, because I'm going to the Leafs Tampa game. I got a book. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that yet. And I got a book tour that has 5 dates so far, and I hope to see you there.